Hare Krishna devotees, and Pranam, all praise to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Before reciting this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Avati Naistike. By regular attendance in classes of Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna devotees, so we can start reading 24, I'm thinking. Please share your screen. Okay. Mataji, you want to read? Okay, I will start with the 24. You can hear, right? Okay, I do. Swargo na prati to yasya manojar amara priya shranvadhabhir upagye yabhir uttama shloke chestitam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The citizens of the state of Mahârâja Ambarîsha were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the personality of Godhead. Thus, they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. Purport. A pure devotee who has been trained in the practice of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and his fame, qualities, form, paraphernalia, and so on, is never interested in elevation to the heavenly planets, even though such places are extremely dear even to the demigods. Narayana para sarve kutaschana vipyati Swargapavarga Narakse Api Tulyartha Darshina. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. The heavenly planets, liberation, and hellish planets are all the same to the devotee, as stated in Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, 17th chapter, 28th verse. A devotee is always situated in the spiritual world. Therefore, he does not desire anything. He is known as akama, or desireless, because he has nothing to desire except to render transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Mahârâja Ambarîsha was a more exalted devotee of the Lord, he trained his subjects in such a way that his citizens in his state were not interested in anything material, including even the happiness of the heavenly planets. So such a wonderful verse. Here we are seeing not only the glories of such an exalted devotee, Ambarish Maharāja, but we can see that even the citizens are also so exalted. So Prabhupada is nicely explaining how the citizens of Mahârāja Ambarîsha were very much attached to chanting and hearing the glorious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they used to chant, do devotional services and all. So here Prabhupada is telling that a pure devotee, who is trained in chanting and hearing the holy name and his qualities, will never even want to go to the heavenly planets. For them, even a heaven or hell is the same. As we can see that even in the case of gopis, they were ready to give the dust of their lotus feet. But even Narada Muni said that they will be actually going to Narakalokas. They said that is fine. Even for a moment of happiness for Lord Sri Krishna's happiness, they were ready to go there. And not only that, here Prabhupada is mentioning that any human being, or in fact anyone who render transcendental loving service to Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is eligible to go back to Godhead, and they don't care about heaven or So even all the citizens were trained in such a way that as we know that Ambarish Mahârâja was not only one Navavidha Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Atmanivedam. So in all the rasas, he was doing devotional service. That's my understanding. Anybody would like to add, correct? Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandatpranam, Hare Krishna Raghu Prabhu, Sampada Mataji, Hare Krishna Bhikhu Prabhu. So I just read number 24. So Prabhuji is traveling, so for today we can read. Anybody would like to add or correct anything?
You're good, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You'd like to read the 25th, Mataji?
Okay, sure, Prabhu. This was quite a long, yeah. So, Dandavat Pranam devotees. Samvardhayanti yat kama swaraja paribhavitaha durlabhanapi siddhanam mukundam hrudi pashyataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who are saturated with the transcendental happiness of rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are uninterested even in the achievements of great mystics, for such achievements do not enhance the transcendental bliss felt by a devotee who always thinks of Kṛṣṇa within the core of his heart. A pure devotee is uninterested not only in elevation to the higher planetary systems, but even in the perfections of mystic yoga. Real perfection is devotional service. The happiness derived from merging in the impersonal Brahman, and the happiness derived from the 8 perfections of mystic Siddhi yoga, Anima, Lagrima, Prapti, and so on, do not give any pleasure to the devotee. As stated by Srila Prabhupada, Prabodhananda Saraswati, Kaivalyam narakayate tridasha pura akasha pushpayate dura dantendriya kala sarpa patali protakhata damsrayate vishwam purna sukhayate vidhi mahendrais dis chakitayate yat karunya Kataksha Vaibhava Vatam Tam Gauram Evastu Maha Chaitanya Chandramruta 5. When a devotee has achieved the position of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he thinks the impersonal Brahman to be no better than hell, and he regards material happiness in the heavenly planets to be like a will-o-wisp. As far as the perfection of mystic powers is concerned, a devotee compares it to a venomous snake with no teeth. A mystic yogi is especially concerned with controlling the senses. But because the senses of a devotee are engaged in the service of the Lord, Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate, there is no need for the separate control of the senses. For those who are materially engaged, control of the senses is required. But a devotee's senses are all engaged in the service of the Lord, which means that they are already controlled. Param drishtva nivartante Bhagavad Gita 2.59. A devotee's senses are not attracted by material enjoyment. And even though the material world is full of misery, the devotee considers this material world to be also spiritual because everything is engaged in the service of the Lord. The difference between the spiritual world and material world is the mentality of service. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. When there is no mentality of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's activities are material. Prapanchikataya buddhaya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumuksha shubhim parityago vairagyam falgu kathayate Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.256. That which is engaged in the service of the Lord is not material, and nothing thus engaged should be given up. In the construction of a high skyscraper and the construction of a temple, there may be the same enthusiasm, but the endeavors are different, for one is material and other is spiritual. Spiritual activities should not be confused with material activities and given up. Nothing connected with Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is material. A devotee who considers all this is always situated in spiritual activities, and therefore he is no longer attracted by material activities. Param drishtva nivartate. So wonderful purport. Prabhupada is writes so beautifully and with so much conviction. You can only write such a way if you are fully 100% convinced, if you are practicing it. Otherwise it's not it's at something is at a theoretical level. It may, and you can only give information, you cannot give cause transformation. And Prabhupada really caused transformation of the hearts is because this information is true. He has lived it, he practiced it, and he taught it. So Prabhupada is saying first that those who are saturated with transcendental service of Lord are not interested in great mysticism. Mystic potencies, anima, lagima, to become smaller of the smallest, to become bigger than the biggest, then to become heavier than the mountains, to become to control others. Basically, it leads to controlling others. And these perfections, these are like hellish. Prabhupada compares them to, it's like if somebody sleep in the dream and in the dream he achieves all the success, what's the use? The same thing in this material world. If person achieves all these siddhis, what's the use? It's like dreaming state as compared to the spiritual bliss one would as compared to the spiritual life one can experience. So this material world is temporary, and there's no use. This mystic yoga practices are just going to give very temporary flickering happiness. It might as well not existing. And merging with the impersonal Brahman is like hell. It has you don't do activities, you are just inert, you are inactive, you don't have pleasure of association, neither of serving the Lord in association. There's no bhakti, there's no rasa, there's no bliss, there's no happiness. It's just a dry state of impersonal Brahma Jyoti. So Prabhupada is saying that here that our senses must be engaged in Kṛṣṇa, in serving Kṛṣṇa. And once you're devotee, there's no separate control needed. You can, it's like if you have a master switch, you won't need to control all the lights in the house. You just can turn off the master switch and everything is turned off. So similarly, our master is Kṛṣṇa. If we are serving his senses, then there's no need to cater to single individual thing. And then Prabhupada here writes is the difference between the spiritual world and material world is the mentality of service. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Ambarish Maharaj is a king. He's not going under the tree and sitting down and practicing Krishna consciousness in a vairagya, but he's engaging everything he has in Krishna's service, and all the citizens are following. And then Prabhupada gives an example of a skyscraper and construction of a temple. And we may build a house, but the best, and we can probably live in our own family, small little family, keep on paying mortgage bills, which seem very high. And here, Prabhupada is a perfect example. He built a house in which the whole world can live. He built ISKCON. He built so many wonderful temples. We just heard a couple of days ago that he could have been like a Birla. He could have been as wealthy as a Birla, but he chose to share Krishna's wealth and spread it all around. And we are still, eating the ripened fruits. All the temples are doing so beautifully, and they are providing shelter to everyone who is coming. Prabhupada said these temples are like hospitals. They are providing spiritual space for practicing Krishna consciousness, for raising our children, giving them culture. They are helping poor people. They are helping hungry people. ISKCON feeds 3 billion plates of has fed 3 billion plates of prasadam, as we calculated on 50th anniversary. So that's the main difference, is that we can build a small house, or we can continue to enjoy the legacy that Prabhupada has so dedicatedly, when so much, after so many sacrifices he has given us, and practice Krishna consciousness, and pay his debt by serving others, by spreading the message of Krishna consciousness to others. Thank you, Prabhu. Back to you. Hare Krishna. Please add or comment. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, you very well explained, very well explained all the points. Anyone would like to add anything? Okay, can
So, Mataji, so there are some group of people who don't believe in anything beyond this our earth or material life. They think that all the sorry, let me turn off. So they believe anything like heaven or hell, everything in this material world. And also Prabhupada is telling that the difference between the spiritual world and the material is the mentality of service. So this sentence might be and supports their thinking that everything, nothing beyond this world. Change your mind and you'll be in peace and have the heaven. And if you don't change your mind, you'll be in the hell.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, very nice point. Thank you, Prabhuji. And also we read in Bhagavad Gita that, in the spiritual world, everyone is, serving, eager to serve. But here, everyone will want to be the boss. So, like it's a reflection, right, Prabhuji? Prabhupada nicely explains in Bhagavad Gita how it is like inverted tree. How, people want to go up and up in this material world. And we can see that how they are, the Lord Brahma is on the top, and then, but all the demigods, and then all of them. But in the spiritual world, everyone is ready to serve. Yeah, thank you. Kirti Mataji, I see your hand. Can you read the next verse, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Text 26. Sa itham bhakti yogena tapo yuktena parthivaha swadharmena harim prinan sarvan kaman shanejaho. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The king of this planet, Mahârâja Ambarîsha, thus performed devotional service to the Lord, and this endeavor practiced severe austerity, always satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his constitutional activities. He gradually gave up all material desires. Purport. Severe austerity in the practice of devotional service are of many varieties. For example, in worshipping the deity in the temple, there are certainly laborious activity. Shri Vigraha Radhana Nityanada Shungaratana Mandir Marjanadyo. One must decorate the deity, cleanse the temple, bring water from Ganges and Yamuna, continue to routine work, perform arti many times, prepare first-class food for the deities, prepare dresses, and so on. In this way, one must constantly be engaged in various activity, and the hard labor involved in certainly and austerity. Similarly, the hard labor involved in preaching, preparing literature, preaching to atheistic men, and distributing literature door to door is of course an austerity. Tapo yuktena, tapo divyam putraka. Such austerity is necessary. Yena sattvam suddhyate. By such austerity in devotional service, one is purified of material existence. Kaman shaner jaho. Indeed, such austerity leads one to the constitutional position of devotional service. In this way, one can give up all material desires, and as soon as one is free from material desires, he is free from repetition of birth and death, old age and disease. So this is very nice translation and purport given by Srila Prabhupada, and he has given the example of Mahârâja Ambarîsha, how he was performing the devotional service and practiced the severe austerity. And in order to do the devotional service, it is very hard to do. And that's what he's saying, that in order to do the devotional service, we have to do some hard work, just like cleaning the temple. So in order to do that, we need to bring the water from Ganges, Yamunas, do the arti many times. As we are seeing in ISKCON, we do the arti, I think 3 to 4 times in a day. And it is continuously going on. Like in India, you can see the live darshan now. When you will wake up morning, you can see here. So all 24 hours is going on this Kṛṣṇa Seva by a lot of devotees. And this is the wonderful work Prabhupada has done to bring it all the unconditioned soul to get into Krishna consciousness. And the main focus of Prabhupada was to get us free from this repetition of birth, death, and old age disease. So that is the message he is giving here. And all 9 process of devotional service, Mahârâja Ambarîsha was following. So he's asking us to follow his footsteps. Okay, Prabhu, that's what I understand. You can add more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, you have really covered everything. I see Shubhilas Prabhu is also, I'm not sure. Prabhuji, you would like to add anything? I'm not sure if you are in a position to talk. No. Anybody would like to add anything? So I would like to add one point here. So as we can see, before coming into Krishna consciousness, I used to have so many other activities, chatting, we lose our time like anything. Of course, even now I do, but at least that has come down a lot, because if we keep ourselves busy, the morning japa, then I have a Bhagavad-gita class, Bhagavatam class, or and like some more chanting, and then in the evening also Bhagavad-gita, Bhagavatam, and all. That way we can easily fill our time with Krishna consciousness activities, and all the other materialistic activities will dry out very easily. And this way Srila Prabhupada is telling that we can easily get free from repetition of birth and death, as Kirti Mataji mentioned. Thank you, Mataji. Anybody would like to add anything? Okay, so we can read the next one. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Vipul Prabhuji, you would like to read 27?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, all devotees, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Text 27. Griheshu dareshu shuteshu bondhushu divopattam ma sandhana baji vastushu akshaya ratna bharana ambharadish ananto koshesha akrodo asana motim. Translation purport by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Gijja. Translation: Mahârâja Ambarîsha gave up all attachment to household affairs, wives, children, friends, and relatives, to the best of powerful elephants, to beautiful chariots, cars, horses, and inexhaustible jewels, and to ornaments, garments, and inexhaustible treasury. He gave up attachment to all of them, regarding them as a temporary and material. Purport: Anakshakta asya vishyan jathartham upayun jata. Material positions can be accepted as far as they can be used in devotional service. Anukulleno Kṛṣṇau Shilanam Anukullasya Shanakalpo Pratikullasya Gorjanam. In preaching, many things considered material are needed. A devotee should not have any attachment for such material involvements as house, wife, children, friends, and cars. Mahârâja Ambarîsha, for example, has all such things, but he was not attached to them. This is the effect of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti prasanno au bhavo bhakti anmantra cha. Bhagavatam 11.242. One who is advanced in devotional service has no attachment for material things, for sense enjoyment, but for preaching, to spread the glories of the Lord, he accepts such things without attachment. Anakshakta vishayan jatharham upantja jata. Everything can be used to the extent that it can be engaged in Krishna service. As Prabhupada said that, give me money, I'll use for Krishna's purpose. So anything material, we can take it for the service of the Krishna. But devotees actually not attached to anything. They take care of their family, house, cars, everything, but for sake of Krishna. And devotee's house is a Krishna's temple. So in the temple, though devotees lives with the family, but they are the servant, and their intention to please the Lord by doing chanting, preaching, cooking bhogas for the Lord, and then honoring the prasadam. So whatever they do, actually their work, they go to earn money, but to support their family, to support the preaching, to support the Krishna's purpose. So devotees whatever do, that is the devotional service. That's why in the previous sloka I said that only one's materiality makes one's actions material or spiritual. So devotees' actions are spiritual because all are docile for the Lord's service. Back to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It really explained everything. Anyone would like to add? Mataji or Prabhuji? Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. So as we can see, generally in this material world, whoever is, little wealthy also, they would like to show off. Of course, there are many people who don't show off, but they are very much attached. But we can see that, great devotees like Ambarish Maharâja, he was practically, the king of the whole world, but he was never attached to anything. He was in fact, as we already know that, he was attached to all the 9 processes of bhakti. And here Prabhupada says that everything can be used, to the extent that, we should engage in Krishna's service.
Sometimes the devotees don't know the attachment, how much it could be. Like Shuja had a car accident 4 years back when she hit the back of the other passenger's car, and the bank, that bump, that fell off. So I went at the accident site. So when I asked him, the guy, that I can pay it off, I can go outside. So he's almost crying to me, what you are telling? This is my baby. And you damaged, I'll not go outside. I'll take to the, it's a Ford sports car. I have to take to the Ford. And he keeps telling, it is my baby, it is my baby. And he's like holding and trying to like give solace to the car. It looks like a living things to him. So I was just looking at him, and I could not like how much people could be attached to a car. So probably our devotee circle don't know how much people are in the other side. Like
True, Prabhuji. In fact, I heard that somebody, had some car accident, and that guy was shouting, and this guy was shouting, and in one time, he removed his, gun and he shot the other guy. So they were so attached that, he was telling, oh, why did you hit me? Because he is comparing the body of the car to be his body. He's not telling why did you hit my car. He's telling why did you hit me. So that much attached. You want to add anything, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Actually, this reminds me of how His Holiness Radhanath Swami was near the Ganges. He had given up everything to search for Krishna, God. He had come he risked his life thrice or 4 times. He was almost about to be killed, and he risked it. And he arrived in Himalayas. Then last thing, he was attached to his clothes because he had only one set of clothes. And then that sadhu, Kailash Baba or another sadhu, he meets him and he says, let go of these clothes too. And then he taught him how to do the kopan. And it's just how we get tested more and more. I mean, he says that he was attached to his pair of jeans. It had become his second self. And then, the more and more we let go, the closer we come to Krishna. And also in the meantime, he also had to give up his harmonica. I don't remember which one comes first. And he also gives up. And that was his only solace. I mean, he was amongst the people who could not speak to him. It says that Kailash Baba could not speak English. So they were traveling companions. He taught him how to protect himself from snakes, cobras, everything. But he could not speak. So harmonica was kind of a language to Guru Maharaj. And he also had to let it go. And then he said, I'm glad in one of the lectures, he says, I am glad I let it go because, Krishna only opens treasure house of bhakti when we have no attachments. Back to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice realization from Maharaj. Okay, so you can read. Anyone would like to read the next verse, please? Okay. I think Kashish Mataji or like to read?
Hi Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Can you hear me clear?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay. Dandavat Pranam, all devotees. Text number 28. Tasma adadarichakram pratyanika bhayavaham ekanta bhakti bhavena prito bhakta bhirakshanam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Being very pleased by the unalloyed devotion of Mahârâja Ambarîsha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gave the king his disc, which is fearful to enemies and which always protects the devotee from enemies and adversities. Purport: a devotee being always engaged in the service of the Lord may not be expert in self-defense, but because the devotee fully depends on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is always sure of protection by the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj said, Naivo dvije para duratyaya vaitaranyasa tvadviryagayana mahamrata magnachittaha. A devotee is always immersed in the ocean of the transcendental bliss of rendering service to the Lord. Therefore, he is not at all afraid of any adverse situation in the material world. The Lord also promises Kaunteya Dijananti name bhakta pranashyati. O Arjuna, you may declare to the world that the devotees of the Lord are never vanquished. Bhagavad Gita 9.31. For the protection of the devotees, Krishna's disc, the Sudarshan Chakra, is always ready. This disc is extremely fearful to the non-devotees. Pratyanika Bhavya Aham. Therefore, although Maharaj Ambarîsha was fully engaged in the devotional service, his kingdom was free of all fear of adversity. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So here my understanding is that those who are the devotees of Lord, they are always protected by the mercy of Lord. And Sudarshan Chakra was there to protect Maharaj Ambarîsha also. In our case, we are always engaged in material world, and our surrender is not that to the extent, but still Lord is so merciful that every now and then he shows that the one who surrenders is always protected by me. He takes out the ways, he shows the light, he always makes us feel his presence, that I'm there for you, you don't worry. So this is my understanding, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, back to you. Please add on.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Anyone would like to add anything, please? So
Hare
one thing
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
thank you.
Sorry, go ahead, Prabhu.
No, please, Prabhuji.
I was hearing a class today, and this topic came of protection of the Lord, by the Lord, sorry. So Her Grace Nitai Stivani Mataji gave a nice acronym, protect. How the Lord protects. So the P is for, he will protect sometimes personally. P is for personally, like he lifted Govardhan Hill to protect the Brajvasis personally. He entered the womb of Uttara to protect Parikshit Maharaj and multiple other devotees, personal involvement of Lord. Then the R is for representative. He will send his representative to protect. Can anyone share any example where he sends his representative to protect someone? Well, Srila Prabhupada is a classic example to protect the people of this world from the age of degradation, from the effects of Kali Yuga. And Prabhupada is protecting under his umbrella, under his ISKCON family, thousands and thousands and millions of people, right? From the ill effects of material world. So Guru is basically the protection of an empowered representative of Kṛṣṇa to protect. Then the O is omnipresent. Sometimes through his omnipresence, like in the case of Draupadi, when she was being disrobed, Kṛṣṇa came as a sari, as a cloth, which no one could see, like how the Lord is there, but sometimes just through his omnipresence, he will protect. Then T is for teachings. So teachings like Bhagavad Gita, like what we are reading Bhagavatam, these books are not just books, they have transformed the lives of thousands and millions of souls and continue to do so because they are non-different from Kṛṣṇa. These scriptures are non-different from Kṛṣṇa, and the teachings of the Supreme Lord, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, etc., are also a form of protection. Then E is for empowerment. Sometimes Kṛṣṇa will give us the strength to empower us to endure that difficulty. That strength also comes from him. Balam balavatam chaham. So, and C is a combination sometimes of everything. So we'll be inspired by the teachings, by the representatives, by empowerment, etc. And that's a combination. And T is time. Sometimes we have to endure that and have faith like as Brahmaji says, that we have to we have to tolerate that with time and be patient. That's also a sign that Krishna is testing us so that we can become more steady in our bhakti and endure that and be patient, and with time things will work out. So I really like this acronym protect, because often sometimes saying, oh, protection means, oh, I have a disease and then Krishna, please cure my disease. That's protection. That's not the real protection. The real protection is actually the saving the soul, bhakti. But through multiple ways, Krishna may protect us directly, indirectly, teachings, etc. So I just thought to share that. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, E for what? Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, E is empowerment to endure. So empowerment and endurement. So Krishna will empower us so we can endure the challenges.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yeah, I heard that you note it down, and very good thing you do, Prabhuji. I think I should start taking notes. Thank you. So, can read the next verse. Anyone would like to read, please? Prabhu, you'd like to read, Prabhuji?
Sure, I can read. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Text 29.
No, sorry.
29, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Ariratyashu Krishnam Mahishyatulyasilaya Yuktaha sa Vatsaram Viro Tadaratwadasi Vratam. Translation and purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. To worship Lord Kṛṣṇa, Maharaj Ambarîsha, along with his queen, was equally qualified, observed the vow of Ekadashi and Dwadashi for 1 year. To observe Ekadashi Vrata and Dwadashi Vrata means to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those interested in advancing in Krishna consciousness must observe Ekadashi Vrata regularly. Maharaj Ambarisha's queen was equally as qualified as a king. Therefore, it was possible for Maharaj Ambarisha to engage his life in household affairs. In this regard, the word Tulya Silaya is very significant. Unless a wife is equally as qualified as a husband, household affairs are very difficult to continue. Chanakya Pandita advises that a person in such a situation should immediately give up household life and become a vanaprastha or sannyasi. Mata yasya grahe nasti bharya cha priya vadini aranyam tena gantavayam yataryanayam tatagraham. A person who has no mother at home and whose wife is not agreeable with them should immediately go away to the forest. Because human life is meant for spiritual advancement, only one's wife. Because human life is meant for spiritual advancement only, one's wife must be helpful in this endeavor. Otherwise, there is no need of household life. So in this purport, Sri Prabhupada is mentioning how Maharaj Ambarisha, of course, very spiritual, very highly qualified, and he observes the vow of Ekadasi, and he observed in this case the vow of Ekadasi and Dwadasi for 1 full year. And then he is ably supported by his wife, the queen, who is also equally qualified. So that's very important. So in a household where the husband has to do everything by himself, or the wife is the only devotee and husband is not, then there are going to be problems. So I think what in such a situation, the advice that Prabhupada is giving us, or Chanakya Pandit, I think, is giving us, that the person should immediately leave the house. But anyway, but the important point here is that the husband and wife should both be devotees, and when the family that prays together stays together. So if they don't, then there are going to be problems. So I think that's a very valid point. I think we see that all around why there are so many divorces, because people are they're not devoted or pray to the Lord. Both of them are not spiritual, the children and so on. So the problems start arising. Thank you, Prabhu. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Anybody would like to add? One thing I like here, what Prabhupada said is, if wife, is not, or the husband is not very, so they have to give up, and, that may actually become a blessing in disguise. We can see that Prabhupada, his wife was not very cooperative, and he gave up everything, and he took that as Krishna's mercy. In fact, he was thankful for his wife, so that, he was able to come out and, realize that what his guru has given him the task, and he gave up at the, later age of, later 60s and early 70s. He was able to establish this, this huge family of ISKCON, what we are having, realizing the fruits, ripened fruit, as Nandini Mataji mentioned. Thank you. Anyone would like to read the next verse? 230.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Would like to read.
Thank you, Mataji.
Text 30. Vratante kartike masi triratram samupositaha snataha kadachit kalindyam harim madhuvanirchayat. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. In the month of Kartika, after observing that vow for 1 year, after observing a fast for 3 nights, and after bathing in the Yamuna, Mahârâja Ambarîsha worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, in Madhuban. So here, Prabhupada's translation, here it says that Mahârâja Ambarish has done a great austerity in the month of Kartik, and before that he did 1 year of Ekadashi and Dadashi Brata, and then after finishing that vow for 1 year, he is bathing in Yamuna and then worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Back to you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, if I am understanding correctly, or if please correct me, Mataji or Prabhuji. So he observed this vow for 1 year. So I think that means he performed all the Ekadashis and Dwadashis for 1 year, and especially in the month of Kartika. And then here, Prabhupada also mentions that observing a fast for 3 nights and bathing in Yamuna. So is that my understanding? 1 year of Ekadashis he followed. Prabhuji, any idea? Maybe we can cross-check.
So here, Mahârâja Ambarîsha has done 1 year of Ekadashi Brata, and then in the month of Kartika, he has done 3 nights fasting and then bathing in Yamuna, right?
Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm just asking Prabhuji. That's
Yeah, that's what I also understood. I was just trying to confirm. Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, anyone would like to read the next 31 and 32? Sampada Mataji would like to read?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mahabhisheka vidhina sarvapashkara sampada abhisichyambara kalper gandhamalyar hanadibihi tadgatantara bhavena pujayam asa keshavam pramanamscha mahabhagan siddharthan api bhaktitaha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jai. Following the regulative principles of Mahabhisheka, Maharaj Ambarish performed the bathing ceremony for the deity of Lord Krishna with all paraphernalia. And then he dressed the deity with fine clothing, ornaments, fragrant flower garlands, and other paraphernalia for worship of the Lord. With attention and devotion, he worshipped Krishna and all the greatly fortunate Brahmanas who were free from the material desires. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, back to you. Please explain.
That was very fast. Thank you, Mataji. So here we can see that how Maharaj Ambarîsha, he was a king for the whole world, and so he was nicely dressed the deities with ornaments and all. When with lot of love and devotion, with attention, he was worshipping Lord Krishna, and with greatly fortunate Brahmanas, who were free from material desires. In this age, very difficult to see such people, and even such Brahmanas who can perform the pujas. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Anyone would like to add, please? Okay, we can read maybe.
I'm just trying to understand where it says Sarva Upaskara Sampada. So, can you, what it says, by all the paraphernalia for worshipping the deity, which part is Sarva is all? Upaskara?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji, that's correct. Sarva is all, and Upadeksh.
Upaskara.
Upakshara, paraphernalia. Sampada means generally, like, I think, wealth also. Here we have Sampada Mataji, she can also tell. Worshipping, maybe, Upakshara.
Sampada means deity then? Deity.
Generally, yeah, the paraphernalia, I think it would come because. Right, Prabhuji?
So, Prabhuji, like Sarva Upashakar, all the paraphernalia, and altogether these are like asset or requirements for the Lord to offer.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yeah, generally, even in Telugu also, Sampada means wealth, right, Prabhuji? So, I think that's, I think what Prabhuji said is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next. Okay, we can read one more and then we can 33 to 35. Anybody would like to read?
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, then text 33. Ghavam rukma vishaninam rupya gririnam suvashana sam prayaha shila vayurupa vatsopashkara sampadam prahinut sudha viprebhyo griheshu nabudhani sat bhojayatvad vijan agre svatre annam gunavatanam labdhya kamar anujanyataha paranayopachakrame tasya tari atitir shakshat Durvâsâ Bhagavan Abhyut. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Therefore, Maharaj Ambarish satisfied all the guests who arrived at his house, especially the Brahmanas. He gave in charity 60 crores of cows whose horns were covered with gold plate and whose hoofs were covered with silver plate. All the cows were well decorated with garments and had full milk bags. They were mild-natured, young and beautiful, and were accompanied by their calves. After giving these cows, the king first sumptuously fed all the brahmanas, and when they were fully satisfied, he was about to observe the end of Ekadashi with their permission by breaking the fast. Exactly at that time, however, Durvâsâ Muni, the great and powerful mystic, appeared on the scene as an uninvited guest. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
So Prabhu, you're on mute.
Yeah. Prabhuji, your mic is off.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Prabhuji, you would like to add anything? That's what I was asking. Anybody would like to add?
Now, this is an interesting verse. So the upaskar in the previous verse you're asking, basically in Hindi there's a word puraskar, so quite similar. They're basically gifts. And how do we get gifts? By using the sampada. So we can understand that he used the well to get different paraphernalia to serve the deities. To serve the deities, we need different kinds of paraphernalia, and for that some wealth is certainly required. So back to this verse, and it's not that he was only following Ekadashi. This whole fasting for the welfare of the kingdom was going on for the whole year. It's not that every day was Ekadashi, but this, after the end of Ekadashi, they were breaking this whole kind of process or yagya or this fasting process. They were breaking, and this is the way one should actually break fast technically, by giving in charity, by serving the brahmanas, by serving cows, and even Nirjala Ekadashi. I think we discussed this point. It's not that, oh, I did Ekadashi, now I just eat like anything. That is not what Ambarish Maharaj is showing by his example. The whole mood is to serve the kingdom in a Krishna conscious way. And just think about 60 crore cows. That's like how many? 600 million cows. And not just cows, they were like cows which full of milk bags and decorated with garments, and their horns were plated with gold. So just so much wealth, because he was the king of the 7 islands. So he's not just a king of a tiny city. So that was the whole idea, to serve the brahmanas, Vaishnavas, to give charity. This is the way to kind of break the fast, and serving everyone, all the guests, nice prasadam in the best of one's ability. That's the whole idea. Ambarish Maharaj had that, and he used that to set a great example, sumptuously feeding. And when they were fully satisfied, that time, with their permission, when all the guests, everyone, they were fully satisfied, then he was about to break the fast. So very, very exemplary behavior here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. You wonderfully explained that. I think we are almost little over. So can we pause here, Prabhu? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpa tarupyascha kripa sindhubhyo pitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.